Peter Griffin presents...
Hello, this is Brian. I'm doing a presentation on comparing two poems or short stories by Benjamin Franklin and Charlotte Gilman. Franklin did The Speech of Polly Baker and Gilman did The Yellow Wallpaper, and it's both related to gender. And this is what this is my kind of interpretation, and also what I got from the classroom. For Franklin, I got the story of a woman in trial who uses nature and God in an argument of economics, and he makes in the story he makes Polly Baker very resourceful, and she has valid points through most of the story, but she loses a lot of credibility towards the end when she actually goes far out and actually just makes a fool out of herself. So not only does the story show the flaw of economics back in the day, but it also shows the flaws that she has and what women have altogether towards the end of the story. And it's a bunch of deistic questioning, and it also is just a lot of double entendre, which adds to the satire and to the comedic part of the story. Yeah, I'm kind of distracted. Joe Bruce, everybody Bruce. He just likes to be playing around. Anyways, Gilman, she did The Yellow Wallpaper. It's a short story, despite even though it's 8 pages or something. What's right
here? I'm kidding, but French toast, please.
Anyways, I'm reading off of a cue card here. She did The Yellow Wallpaper, and it's basically a story of a woman who has a very huge illness, and a doctor made a diagnosis of her just needing some rest. She just needs lots of rest, but basically the doctor issued a diagnosis in which all women, no matter how sick they are, they just really just need lots of rest without thinking, without reading, without writing or anything. They just have to stay there and get better. So the woman gets worse even with his advice. So instead of actually following through the whole way, she ends up disregarding it and she just tells herself, well, I just need mental stimulation, so I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want. Or not really in that sense, but she just wants to get her mind stimulated, and so she allows herself to think, and during that process her inner self, or her shadow, takes over suppression of true self from society and conventions, basically. So that's pretty much how it is.
Hey Brian.
Yeah.
What are the similarities between Benjamin Franklin and Charlotte Gilman's short stories? What are the similarities between Benjamin Franklin and Charlotte Gilman's short stories?
I'll ask you that, man, right now. I'm in the middle of a freaking huge epic battle.
Hey Brian, what's the difference between Benjamin Franklin and Charlotte Gilman's short stories?
Funny you should ask. I actually wrote this down earlier in a separate piece of paper because I obviously can't memorize it. So I'm going to tell you, boys and girls, that I compared these two authors, Benjamin Franklin and Charlotte Gilman, and I've noticed that they have some interesting similarities. For example, they both try to see the main characters that they are trapped in a man's world. So basically, can't even read this. It's too dark. Anyways, so I said that the Benjamin Franklin portrayed Polly Baker in a man's world because she's in this courtroom, and she's trying to plead her case, in which she's using nature and God as her argument in a economic filled world. And I took a passage over here saying, I have debauched no other women's husbands, not enticed any These things I never was charged with, nor had, or at least caused or complained against me, unless perhaps the minister adjusted because I've had children without being married, by which they have missed a wedding fee. In which case, she's trying to say that she has to at least abide by all these economic rules so that she can live in this man's world. And then in Charlotte Gilman, I got this one little passage, and if I can find it, here we go, in which she's trying to get perfect rest because obviously she really, really wants to get better, but her doctor really wants her to get some rest, not think about anything, not read or write or anything, just try and concentrate on getting better. So I got this passage say, he said we came here solely on my account that I was to have perfect rest and all air I could get. Your exercise depends on your strength, my dear, and your food is somewhat on your appetite. The air you can absorb all the time. So we took nursery on the top of the house. So I got those two quotes in which saying that these two authors are trying to portray these two women in these short stories in which they are in this world in which they can't seem to get out because it's basically dominated by men basically, and that's what I got.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Have you ever made a great catch that surprised even you? Have you ever memorized a speech by repeating it over and over? Have you ever laughed when someone tickled you? You will. And the system that will be bringing it to you.
So hey, what's the difference?
Difference between what?
Charlotte Gilman and Benjamin Franklin short stories.
Oh, funny you should ask. I have this book right here that says everything I need to know. Anyways, like I was saying, the contrast between Benjamin Franklin and Charlotte Gilman is the fact that in Charlotte Gilman's yellow wallpaper, it shows that, like, on the outside of the main character, like, she shows, like, all the, what a woman should be, like, everything, like, they're supposed to be back in the 18th century, or late 18th century, and then, for Franklin, it's more one-sided, as in which it's more like she already has the qualities, but at the same time it already also shows her other side. But they're playing like, you know, integrated. You know, it's all integrated, and that way it's already out in the open. Whereas for Gilman, it's more external versus internal, and the internal is taking over the external, which is portrayed by the shadow. I'm gonna read a few examples in the book. Like for Benjamin Franklin, I got this quote saying, where's this stuff? It's a long quote. I always was and still am willing to enter into it, and not my behaving well in it, having all the industry, frugality, fertility, and skill and economic pertaining to a good wife's character. So she already has all the good qualities of a woman, but at the same time, she's trying to get through these economic times that is ruled by men and all that is men. And for Gilman, I probably should have said this. For Gilman, I basically got this quote, and I heard him ask Jeannie a lot of professional questions about me. She had a very good report to give. I slept a good deal in the daytime. John knew I couldn't sleep all at night for all I'm so quiet. He asked all sort of questions too, and pretended to be very loving, kind. So it showed her differences. The differences in which she goes through a transformation from the outer self of what everybody expects from her, and goes into a state of where her inner self, or her shadow, quote unquote, takes over her external self, and she's released, and everybody sees the true identity of this shadow, and everybody's like going crazy, like, ah, and yeah, and that's it. That's my video. I hope you liked it. The end. You may clap now.